Hello and welcome to episode 75 of our Conversations to Connect, Let's Get Real podcast powered by Exceptional Connections. I'm Cyndi ONeill-Dady, the founder and chief connector of Exceptional Connections since 2009. We are in for a really special treat today as I have three Exceptional Connections champion connectors on our Conversation to Connect this month. Joining us today are Elisa Hawkinson, Melissa Lavigne, and Kim Pelham is going to be joining us any minute. So welcome, ladies.
Hey.
Thanks so much for being on our call. I'm so excited about rolling up our sleeves and discussing the topic that we shared at our April Exceptional Connections Networking Luncheon. The topic we talked about was how to be a champion at connecting. Leaders share their secrets on turning contacts into loyal advocates and raving fans. So I just want to let you know that the three ladies that we have joining us today on this panel, they all were recipients of recognition at our 2024 champion event. And so I'll start with you, Lisa. Lisa was
Okay.
recognized as our Exceptional Connections 2024 Champion of Engagement, and you were honored for exceptional dedication to building our community by inviting and bringing the most guests to our monthly exceptional. Oh, I think I've got that upside down here.
Yeah, that wasn't me.
Sorry.
I think that's for Kim.
You know what? I read the wrong one. So that was celebrating outstanding dedication and active participation by Exceptional Connections events and activities, exemplifying the spirit of engagement and connection within our community. That's you. Okay, next is Melissa. I swapped the two. Sorry about that. Melissa was honored for exceptional dedication to building our community by inviting and bringing the most guests to our monthly EC luncheons, thereby fostering growth and connection within our Exceptional Connections community. And Kim hopefully will be joining us here. She's having some challenges with the Zoom link, but Kim Pelham was voted Exceptional Connections 2024 Champion Connector of the Year, and she's recognized for her outstanding contributions to fostering exceptionally meaningful connections and exemplifying the spirit of community within our Exceptional Connections community. Kim was voted on by her peers at our December event, and the award for Lisa Hawkinson, Marcel Allen, who's not able to join us today, and Melissa, that was data driven. So that was purely from attending meetings and inviting guests and being a contribution. So thank you, ladies. Thank you so much for being here. And I thought it'd be fun to just turn it over to you each to give a little introduction. So before we dive in, I'd love to start by having each of our champion panelists briefly introduce yourselves, and please share a snapshot of what you do and what fuels your passion for cultivating meaningful relationships. And so I'll go ahead and start off with Lisa. Would you introduce yourself, please?
Glad to. I'm Lisa Hawkinson, and my business is How to, the number 2, Get Organized. And I've been helping people since 2000. You can say downsize or smart size or do whatever they need to do to get ready to move, either to a new home or to a assisted living or a senior community. It's been very challenging. It's all distilled down to one thing that helps me explain to people. And I can ask them, are you ready to list your home in 30 days? And if they can't do that, like, they need to start working with me, and we can get them in a good place for that, because you never know when life changes and you have to move, have to make a big change. And I just love helping people anywhere from 60 to 80. I've been helping a lot of people get ready for the next thing in life.
Beautiful. And you do such a good job at it. You're so compassionate and kind and give people so many great pointers. And even for those of us, Lisa, who aren't ready to move yet, not that we know that we're supposed to move.
Right.
Anyway, you're in my head all the time. I'm always thinking about, okay, going through rooms, going through drawers, going through areas of my home and downsizing. And So we really appreciate your contribution. So tell us also what fuels your passion for cultivating meaningful relationships.
I think if you don't have meaningful relationships, it's too shallow. So I like more depth in my relationships. And so I like
Mm.
listening and asking lots of questions, getting to know people, who they really are.
That's beautiful. I love that. You're right, because it is really, not just knowing a lot of people at a surface level, but being able to have those deep, meaningful relationships is really, really a blessing. So, Melissa, would you introduce yourself to our, now some people on this call, whether if you're here live with us or on the recording, know you, but for those who don't, give us some background.
Yes. Hi. Thank you. Cyndi, thank you for the recognition too. You make it easy to invite people to your community because it's so wonderful and you're so wonderful.
Oh,
Um, I'm Melissa Lavigne, and I dabble in a lot of different things, but truly my passion is to help people create stories and bring their stories to life through film or television. So I create meaningful, inspirational, and educational media through a company I started called Infinite Love Productions. And so films, television, documentary, anything in terms of media, I help produce.
beautiful. And you need to add your background in creating your own networking group, Lead Referrals. So that really, I think, dovetails into your passion for cultivating meaningful relationships because you actually were, you brought people together for many years, right?
I did, yeah. I started a Leads Referral Network. Anyone remembers Leads Referral Network? It was before COVID, and it actually kind of started in Sherman Oaks, California, when I just reached out to all my neighbors in the area and said, "Hey, let's meet up at a coffee shop and help support our businesses." And I think that's you met Chip Rudolph, Lisa, right?
Yes, that's right.
That started with Chip back in California. And so then when I moved
Wow.
to Seattle, I was kind of like, what should I do with my life? And I said, I love networking and I love that connecting, like, hey, I know this person. Can I connect you with this person? This person could probably help you. And so yeah, I just kind of started it, and then kind of COVID happened and kind of changed the trajectory of that company. So, but now I'm actually, I love helping Cyndi connect people with exceptional connections, and I'm also helping a company called the Max Community, which is an online networking. So for people who have online businesses, they can hop online and network and do speed networking online now. So essentially, Leads is kind of back. It's
Oh, wow.
just
So
through another
fun.
company. Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's great. Well, you're such a natural connector, and as is Lisa. And so it's fun to be able to have this conversation with you. So we're going to jump right in, and I'm hoping that Kim has had some challenges with her getting online here, but we're going to go ahead and continue trudge on and plug her in as she joins us. So my question as I begin this, really fun conversation that we're having about how to be a champion at connecting and for, asking for you leaders to share your secrets on turning contacts into loyal advocates and raving fans. I want to just start off with a question. Do you ever feel like your networking is just not working? Perhaps it's because you're missing a key ingredient, and I would call that key ingredient connection. So at Exceptional Connections, we believe the true power of networking lies in authentic relationship building, and that's why we've created the 6 steps to exceptional connecting. That's at the heart of and transforms a simple introduction into lasting relationships and contacts into champions and networks into a thriving community. So today, and I forgot to mention the 6 steps. So the 6 steps to exceptional connecting are connect, discover, listen, contribute, follow up, and nurture. And that's at the heart of our conversation today. So today our champion connectors will share how applying these steps has helped them build trust, deepen relationships, and grow their influence in meaningful ways. And so I'm actually going to jump from connect because Kim was going to lead us off with that. And actually, you know what? Let's just jump in. So connect is all about building the foundation for relationships. So I just want to put this question out for either and both Lisa and Melissa. So what is your secret sauce to ensure your first impression is memorable and meaningful? Who'd like to start us off? How about you, Lisa? Melissa's.
I'd be glad to. So I think it's just being very intentional. And so you're looking them in the eye, you're making sure you're having good eye contact. You're not checking out people beside them or behind them or other people in the room. So they know that you are really talking with them. And I think that's very key, and just and I'll be talking about this later, but active listening to what they're saying and not other conversations and noise going on in the room. So it's just really focusing on that relationship and knowing that you want to build it. And it's not just lightly dusting over it, but it's you want to go deeper.
You know, I love that insight, Lisa, because it's very simple and people might think, well, yeah, of course. But how many people have you seen when they're talking to somebody or they're talking to you and they're looking around the room? It
Right,
doesn't feel very honoring to that,
right,
conversation, right?
right.
So that's a good one. I love that. And it's simple, it's basic, but it's really critical because you
Mhm.
want to be present in that relationship. That's what I hear you saying.
And they're
Yeah.
not going to remember you, or you remember them, if you're not really paying attention.
Right. Right. What about you, Melissa? What is your secret sauce or insights in building meaningful relationships with the connection piece?
Well, I was going to say the same thing, so I'm trying to think of something else. But I guess what comes to mind is, not, when you have that first interaction, it's not just going into, you and what you do, but asking them, tell me more, like Lisa did her great introduction, right, of what her business was, but then I would say, tell me more, or I always like to ask personal questions,
Right.
because then it's like, to find out something personal about them. Then when you're checking in with them, when you're nurturing them down the road, you can say, hey, hey gal, how's your leg healing, right? Like, or how's your brother, or how, I remember you telling me that we're having some troubles with your brother or whatever. Because then you can, getting personal, I think, as well as stepping beyond that business, as makes people remember you too, I think.
Well, and also it shows that you paid attention, right? And that you actually
Right.
care what's going on in their lives. And it's not just, like, how's your business every time? So I love that. Before we move on with Connect, I want to know also kind of give me another insight because I happen to know some background about you guys. Um, like what did you feel like is your secret sauce? Like, I know that Lisa talked about like is there something you do or a position you put yourself in so that you can meet new people and that you can be able to cultivate, relationships and build a foundation for them to grow in the future? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think that goes to, I feel like that goes to one of the, oh no, that was the first question.
What's
You
your
go
secret
ahead.
sauce to ensure your first impression is memorable and meaningful?
Yeah. Oh, well, I feel like that connects with with question number 3, but just giving them a connection, you know, so it's like just really thinking like, okay, Lisa, who do I know that's moving, you know, but like, so initially making that connection, like, oh, I usually always, whenever I meet someone new, I usually always am like, oh, you should talk to this person. So literally hanging up and making that, you know, group text or group chat on Facebook or group email, you know, that introduction, like, hey, so and so, this is my friend Cyndi. I think you two would really love connecting. You two have so much in common. And I think, you know, blah, blah, blah. And actually doing that introduction right away, you know.
That's a really good point because life gets busy, and if we don't do it right away, sometimes it gets missed, and then our, our integrity is in question there. How about you,
Right.
Lisa? Anything come to mind?
No, actually, it's the very same thing. It's surprising to me how many people comment on my glasses. So I'm always referring the person I got my glasses from and what a great job she does. So build up that other person and make them feel that they know that person before they even connect. They know something about them. So it's just really keeping an ear open for who could I refer them to. I really love doing that. It's a joy.
I happen to know something else about you, Lisa, that I think needs to be mentioned is that, and it's a personal kind of strategy for me as well. I call it a strategy, but it's putting yourself in a place where you're meeting new people. And so,
Right.
like you've mentioned that you're on our contribution team for Exceptional Connections. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Well, I love helping out. I don't want to just show up and just say put in my time. I like to be part of the foundation of what's going on. I get to know the people better too when I'm working beside them and with them. So I feel like I'm part of the team and that it's very fulfilling to me.
So I love that because that's what I've done over the years in networking as well. Is I've always any networking groups that I've been affiliated, even my not my own, I've always been part of the contribution or production team and volunteered to greet the new people because that's
Right.
where you really get to have first access to those, additional folks that come to that community and
Right.
be able to exchange contact information, even briefly get to know them, welcome them. And so that's been, a big one for me as well. All right, I love it. Well, let's move along here to discover. So after you connect, you discover. And again, it's this process, the 6 step process is not a, check, check. It's really a fluid process, but there is an order in which you want to be able to build that rapport, build that relationship, and then move on and discover. Discover is really about understanding people beyond the surface. And really at the core of discovering is asking questions. So the question I'm going to ask next, and I'll direct this to Melissa first, is can you share a time when you discovered something unexpected about someone that deepened your connection?
Oh, totally. I mean, literally just happened to me yesterday. So
That's timely.
I know. Um, well, yeah, so that second process, you know, is usually meet someone, right? And then you schedule a coffee chat or meet in person coffee or have a Zoom coffee, right? And then you can truly really get to know each other outside of that big group networking. And so I did that with a gal yesterday, and I forgot to mention that I'm also a talent manager. I work with actors, and so this actor, well, she's actually a model. She kept messaging me that she wanted to meet in person, and I didn't feel like I could really help her because I don't really work with models, and so I kept kind of putting her off, you know, thinking I don't know how I can help her. But there was just like something inside of me that was just like like a pull, you know, like a force, like I really need to meet with this person. And so I did. So I was like, okay, let's meet for coffee. And yeah, and that whole listening thing, you know, I just sat and I let her talk, tell me about you, tell me about your family, tell me about this. And her story like gave me chills, goosebumps up my whole body. And I ended up leaving and I was like, I don't know what I need to do, but I am going to do everything I can to help you and your family. Like
Wow.
she's got 4 kids. Turns out her son's an actor and her daughter's a musician and like all these other things. And so I was like, oh, I can help your whole family. Like, let's do this. And so, yeah, it turned out I had no idea that I could help her, but after hearing her story and just, having, the humanness in me, it was just like, I just want to help this girl, whatever, like build her team, right? So,
Right. Wow.
yeah.
That is a beautiful story, Melissa. And it's so you. I mean, you are just such
Sounds great.
a giver and contribution, and you just light up when you can help somebody. I know that about you. It's a beautiful thing. And so thank you for sharing that story. And it just reminds me of, kind of the heart of the 6 steps to exceptional connecting that I created is the mantra, if you will, that I shared at our networking meeting. Imagine viewing every chance encounter as a connection that can change the course of your life. And I
Right.
love that because you never know, right? You never know. So, bravo to you for acting on the prompting and like, okay, I feel like I need to have this meeting, and then for the persistence of that gal, right? And reaching out to you. But it takes intention to have a relationship, have a chance,
Mhm.
whether it's a romantic relationship like we've all experienced in our lives, right? Or friendships or business relationships. We really have to be open and be in a place where we, accept the possibilities of those relationships. So I love that. How about you, Lisa? So can you share a time when you discovered something unexpected about someone that deepened your connection?
Well, I just love Melissa's story. I can't beat that. No, I'm sorry, I can't.
Okay. I bet you
Real
do.
life ones are the best, right? And especially ones
Yes,
that just
that's right.
happen.
What about your relationship with Chip? Like that, I mean, that was cool. Your relationship with Chip.
Oh, it was kind of a very short time in my life where we are getting connected, so I can't say I know her that well.
Oh, okay.
But there's always the discovery process is not about, we've talked about this at the networking events because I'm really passionate about, people who don't understand, like asking questions. It's not about interrogating, right? It's
Right.
about being interested and asking questions so that you can get to know them, and be able to, as a result, know how to best support them. So let's go ahead and move on. Unless you had something else to add on that one, Lisa, we'll move to listen.
I'll add a very brief one. I was talking about how to organize kitchens, and someone in the group heard me, and I visited their home, and they told me how they were getting so many gifts from the in-laws, and they just hated it, and they couldn't stop it. So we just had a really good talk. I listened, and they could tell I was listening. And 10 years later, the man contacted me and wanted to know if I was still doing the organizing. I mean, 10 years later. I said, yeah. And so he said, could you help me sell my house in 30 days? So that's part of what taught me. So my clients have taught me everything. And so together we really got his massive house in order. He sold it for top dollar in the neighborhood. And the realtor was just thrilled with it. So it was a great experience. So I think it's because I was very intentional in listening with him the first time we met that profited 10 years later.
You know what? That's such a great segue for the next piece of our connection puzzle, which is listen. But not to diminish the fact that you did ask questions and you were
Right,
interested in that person.
right.
And so, it's a dance we all do. We can't do one. We can't just ask questions. We have to, pause and step back and listen And I think I'm just going to say this. I think the most important part of the listening process is that the person you're talking to feels listened to.
Yes, absolutely.
Have you guys ever had a situation, I'll just set this up for the listening piece, where somebody thinks they're listening and they don't say anything, but
And they have a business card in their hand to shove
then
it at
they
you any
turn
moment.
around and leave, and
Yeah.
feels like you just like, I don't know. I have an analogy that I use. It's not very pleasant, so I won't say it, but it's like you dumped and then they left, and
Yeah.
they leave you with your mess.
Right.
You don't feel like they really got your communication. So that's where really the passion for listening came in for me, is I want people to feel listened to, not just
Right.
me listen, but that they get that I care. They get that I'm interested.
That's right.
So listening is the art of active engagement. And so Lisa, how has truly listening to someone, and you already kind of alluded to this, so I'm sure you have lots of stories about this. How has truly listening to someone's story or someone's situation helped you build stronger, more meaningful relationships?
Well, it's continually listening and hearing what they're saying. What are they talking about? And asking if there's an area of their life that's kind of chaotic. Are they stressed anywhere? And just it goes so much deeper in the conversation when they can reveal what's going on in their life.
Yeah.
And so it's actively asking questions. So one of my silly questions I asked is, if tomorrow at 10 o'clock all your clothes were clean, will they fit in your dresser in your closet? And so many people go, are you kidding? And so it's fun to say, then where are they? They're at my mom's on the edge of the bathtub in the second bedroom. It's all over the place. And so then it's fun to say, ask if they'd like any help with that. Or sometime a woman said, well, yeah. And that was kind of surprising. I mean, for some reason I said, well, how many dressers do you have? And I've never said that before to anyone. And she said 3, and I was shocked. And so were the women standing around me. They slugged her. They were friends. Her friends slugged her. I said, well, not many people have room for 3 dressers, so we need to get it down to what you need and use. So it's just really fun to hear what people are talking about.
Right, right. I love that. Well, how about you, Melissa? How has truly listening to someone else's story helped you build stronger, more meaningful relationships?
Um, I mean, just I guess the story with the gal from yesterday, that's now I am just on, a mission to really, really build that relationship with her and truly help her. Like I said, I would. So, um, yeah.
Well, that's beautiful because, especially when you shared the story that you were like putting her off in a way, like, I don't think I can help you, but listening was the ingredient that changed everything for you,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And so that is an important piece. And one thing I already say about listening is that you can't really learn about somebody else if you're talking.
Right.
And then the visual for that I really like, and it's all about the anatomy of our body, is we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. That's a clue. We need to listen twice as much as we talk, right?
Right.
Mhm.
So the art of listening really identifies what Melissa did. I mean, it was really an
Yes,
art for her listening.
it is. And an art and a heart, right? Because she
Yes,
has the
that's right.
heart to make a difference too.
Yes.
Because I do, I guess that's my pet peeve for listening is I've had people that pride themselves in listening in my life, but after I share, I don't feel listened to. And so it's
Right.
a two-way street, we need to really make sure we're honoring that person by really hearing what they're saying. All right. So, you know, once you connect, discover, and listen, and it doesn't have to happen over a long period of time. It can happen like there was a conversation that Kim had with one of the members of our community at our April event, and she had just met a gal that came for the first time. So Gail, you weren't there, so you didn't hear this, but it was a really beautiful story. So she just met this first time gal. I hadn't had a chance to get over to her before the meeting. And so Kim introduced her to the community, and she felt like that she was able to connect, discover, listen in very short time, just before the meeting. And as a result, once you do that, then what opens up is the opportunity to contribute to that person. Because I know for myself, if I've just met somebody and the first thing that comes out of their mouth before they've gotten to know me is an idea, a referral, um, a connection, I'm like, you don't even know who I am. And I don't receive their contribution as well as if they just given it a little more, focused attention. It's not time, it's focused attention to truly have a mutual relationship where we're both connecting, we're discovering, we're listening, and then the contribution can be received. So connect, discover, listen, then contribute. So for contributing, it's all about adding value to your connections and your network. So Melissa, what are some ways you intentionally add value to your connections and network? And I know you do that quite naturally.
Yeah. So again, just thinking of who you know in your network that can help them, move forward in, what they're doing. I have to do a shout out to one of your exceptional connections guests, Nicole Orsgo. Is that how you say her
Yeah.
name?
Yes.
I met her one time at an exceptional connections event. And then we had our one-on-one call and got to know each other a little bit. And then all of a sudden, like she connected me with like the most amazing people for my filmmaking, and like just was like, wow, like just boom, 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 boom. Melissa, you need to talk to this person, this person, this person. Like just did all these little group texts with all these different people that she had been connected with. And it was just like, wow, thank you, and I messaged her the next day and was just like, thank you so much. It was just so nice. And, um, and I think, that just triggers a thought too, is, and receiving, all of us, I think even just as women right here, we're all just like, so givers, right? We want to give, 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 give. And so just being on the other end of receiving that was just so amazing. It was just like, oh, I felt that receiving side of of it. And it felt really good, because sometimes I have a hard time receiving. Like, it's like, no, I just want to give, I don't need anything, just, but it was nice to be on that receiving end. So
You make a really good point, because it's like breathing, giving and receiving is this cycle, just like breathing in, breathing out. We can't just do one, right? We have to, it's a cycle. And I think we forget that, even especially as women, because we're so used to giving to our children, giving to our family, giving to our husbands, giving to our community. And receiving is a muscle that we need to flex as well. And be gracious receivers, right? And also what reminds me of your story is kind of like my, garden analogy. We plant seeds, so we're planting seeds, and then we water those seeds, we nurture those seeds, we love on those seeds, we're patient. But I just see this whole process, whether you call it 6 steps or just the way, connecting and nurturing relationships as a cycle. Because how many times have we heard about, oh, out of left field, this miracle happened, or I got this connection, or I got this call, and we think it's a miracle. We think it's like came out of nowhere. But the reality is, and this is my belief, we've been faithful in planting seeds, and things come back to us. And it may not be a tit for tat situation. It may not be, I've given a referral to you, Melissa, so you give a referral to me, and then now we have to, I owe you or whatever. It's really just, I believe, the way God created the universe, and how, things do come back with you planting good and bad seeds. We do it's reaping the harvest that we've sown. And so I love what you said about that because, it's the giving, receiving piece. It's the, being able to understand where blessings come from and how, having that spirit of contribution really I think it's a huge blessing in our lives. So anyway, Lisa, I'm really curious what your feelings are or experience is with the contribution piece, and what are some ways that you intentionally add value? And I know you do that in a lot of ways to everybody you come in contact with in your customers.
Well, it goes back to listening. I mean, they say something that just triggers a thought, or a connection in your brain that so you can keep listening and then wait to see what else comes up and at the right time be able to contribute and ask permission to contribute. And they almost always go, yeah,
That's a really good point, Lisa. I love that you brought that up. It's being able to ask with permission,
right,
right? And not have an agenda for that other person as well.
right.
And because when you ask permission, there's like, are you open to? And I've had
Yes.
people say no to me. And it's
Wow.
okay. It's okay. They're not ready for it. Like, no,
Right.
I'm not open to any ideas right now. All right, not a problem.
Depending on what their business is, like I met a young man the other day starting in a business with candles, beautiful candles that he's selling. So I was like, are you open to other ideas? And I had a whole bunch of ideas of where else he could go with his candles. And he was very appreciative, and is half of what I said he was already thinking about. So that was fun. It helped him realize he was on the right track.
Yeah, it's fun to be in a collaborative conversation, right? Where you
Yes.
can, and
Yes.
that's why the asking permission, not having an agenda is really important. Um, all right, well, that again segues us right into the next one. The fifth piece of the exceptional connections puzzle is follow up. And so this is about nurturing relationships beyond the first meeting. And so let's start off with Lisa this time. So, Lisa, what is your follow-up strategy for connecting with someone, and how do you ensure consistency?
So as soon as I meet someone that I recognize I need to follow up, I do it within 24 hours. I think that's really key. And then just keep staying on track of connecting with them until we have a further conversation. And just like I don't just let it drop dead.
So
And so
follow,
just to keep
yeah,
going with it.
follow up to me shows that you're listening, right? That
Yes,
you
that's right.
care. And it really is part of the integrity piece. And I have to say that I dropped the ball too. I mean, I dropped a
Oh,
lot of
sure.
balls. It
Yeah,
depends on what's going on in life. My intention is to always follow through, but I was just a friend of mine I was just talking to before this call lost her brother. And so I'm taking notes and I'm like, okay, I'm going to write and send a condolence card to her as soon as I get off the phone for this call.
right,
The reality is there are times that I've intended to do that and I drop the ball.
right.
And the thing about follow up that's so important is it's never too late to follow up.
That's right.
It's never too late to send a thank you note. It's never too late to send a condolence card because it's everybody, we all have busy lives. And so I think we make ourselves wrong and like, oh, I blew it. I can't do it. It's too late. It's like, oh, it's never too late. Um, it's like, hey, I apologize. I dropped the ball, taking personal responsibility, but I wanted to let you know I really care. And here's the contact information I promised you, or here's the connection, or whatever you promised.
That's
Um,
exactly right. I think a sincere apology goes a long way. And I don't mind extending grace. People extend grace to me all the time. So I want to do that for other people.
so your strategy is for following up. Do you have a certain process that you use, or
Well,
um,
it's almost always an email, at least an email of thanking
okay,
them or sending them something they asked for. And I know they appreciate that because they get right back to me.
right. We all have different preferences. So some people like Melissa, I called her earlier and she said, if you really, want me to get back to you quickly, text me. And so I always appreciate when people let me know like how they
Right.
want to be, you know, responded to. So whether it's email, text, a call, a card, social media. I always say, who's that movie? There's some movie. There's so many portals to be,
Right.
rejected on or whatever. But there are a lot of different ways to communicate with people. And one of the most important pieces with follow-up is what they want to use, what works best for them. So what do you say, Melissa, about follow-up? What's your follow-up strategy after connecting with someone, and how do you ensure consistency in that process?
Well, I actually just I had a nice size box of business cards from all the events, right, that I've been to. And if I think about actually if I would have saved a lot from even past years, but I had a box and I was at a networking event and I met this guy who takes all your business cards and can just put them into a CSV file for you with their email, their phone number, and their address. And so I thought, well, that's really cool because how am I going to get to all these people? Right. And I kept putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. And then he messaged me one day and he said, Melissa, these people need you, you know? And I thought, oh my gosh, like I never thought of it that way. So watch out, everyone. You'll be getting an email from me very shortly.
So you took advantage of his services and
So
have.
I did. I sent it in. Cost me $10 to send in that box, and so yeah. So I'm going to email everyone and just say, hey, I met you at a networking event. I really would like to follow up with you and connect with you and see what you're up to, and and then take it from there. And see how I can be of service to them in any way. So
That's fun. That's a fun story. And it's a tool. So you're taking action on, something that you hadn't done, like we talked about earlier in the past, and you'll be able to have all those connections. So my story is that I too, over the years of all the networking, have collected a lot of business cards. That's one of the reasons for Exceptional Connections that we don't pass business cards to all, 25 to 30 people in the room, because then you come home with a stack every month. So my strategy is if I meet, say 3 new people, I get those 3 new cards or 5 cards, whatever, and I put those directly in my contact manager and I'll send them an email. Nice to meet you. And that way, it's manageable, right? And what I did one day, and this is thanks to Lisa, having all these business cards and little boxes and little rubber bands and all this kind of stuff. One night while my husband Curtis and I were watching a movie, I just sat there and I went through and I'm like, okay, keep this one, follow up with this one, throw this one away, because I knew that they moved, they no longer had that business, it had been too long. And so I ended up throwing away a lot of those cards. And then the ones that I went through and went, oh, I need to call that person, or I need to put that person in my contact manager. So I did deal with them. It wasn't as easy a process as what you did, but it took a while. But now I'm organized now. And I'm going to show you. I have a little box of business cards, and they're categorized like my champions, the classic connectors, prospects, new people. But these are functional. And the reason I keep these, and sometimes I keep 2 or 3 for each person, is these are people that are actively in my life. And if I meet somebody and want to refer them, I have their card to give. So the cards really aren't for me as much as something to, be able to give others to be able to make that introduction. So Lisa, did we get to you on follow-up? Yeah, we had you start that.
We did, but I want to add one thing. I will put a quick note on the card so I don't forget what I'm supposed to send them or what I'm replying to. If I happen to miss that 24-hour period, I'll go, what was this for? So I ran across one yesterday and I have no idea why I have that card. And that's not good. I don't like that.
That is a really good point. I started doing that really early in my networking experience, and I put the date, where I met him, and then I ended up having some codes. So like
Right,
um, you know, if I was going to refer them to somebody, who was going to refer them to, um, and what else did I did? Like schedule an appointment to get together.
right.
So I'd had kind of some note hand that I put on the
Hmm.
cards too for the next actions, because we get busy, we come home, we think we're going to remember things, we put it on our desk, and then we're like, what the heck was I going to do? Who is that person? But if I put
Right,
a few little notes about their family, or like Gail just had surgery, call or send a card, then it brings new life to that conversation, and I'm able to follow up with it.
right.
Yeah, Melissa?
Since we're talking about it, I remember talking to someone that is a huge networker, and what he does is he always like takes a selfie of him and the other person, and then
Yes.
literally texts them and sends them the picture of the two of them,
Nice.
and says, pleasure meeting you, blah blah blah, and then literally right there sends a connection, like you should talk to so and so right then
Great
and there. So
idea.
then you've
Thank
got
you.
that immediate connection, and you've got that immediate, like, you know,
Facial recognition.
right? Yeah.
That's really
That's a
good.
good
I like
idea.
that. Yeah, I like that. And we do that, right? When we're at networking groups, we do selfies with each other, but to be intentional with a new person and doing that, then you
Yeah.
have their
Then
face
you
and
go home and you have a whole bunch of photos that are in your photo box and
right.
just sitting there.
I appreciate, and this is kind of like I appreciate when people put their headshot on their photo,
Right.
on their business card, because that helps too, make that connection of who they were. All right, well, let's round it up here with the last piece of the uh, puzzle piece of nurture. Nurture is turning contacts into advocates and raving fans. So Lisa, what habit or routine do you use to continuously strengthen and nurture your relationships over time? Because I know you're really
Well,
good at this.
well, I'm going to be honest with you. It's been challenging. These last 3 years, things have quieted down so much. So I am uh, going on to some key people, a handful of key people, going to their Facebook pages. I'm also sending them notes, email notes, and checking in to see how they're doing.
So the secret ingredient to nurturing is just being interested, right? And going back to
That's
the
right.
previous relationships, and giving those love and showing your
Right.
concern, and responding to their, like you say, in social media posts. That's a big
Right.
deal. And it's not that hard, right?
Right.
It just takes intention.
Hmm.
How about you, Melissa? What are ways that you nurture your relationships? And then we'll open up for just a few minutes to others who are on this call to hear their experiences or ask questions.
Yeah. Yeah, I love using your program, Cyndi, Mailbox Power, and sending them a birthday card on their birthday, and maybe a little gift, with like a coffee mug with, like, I love QR codes. I used to send, somebody actually sent me this mug. My friend Rayanne sent me this mug saying, Melissa, you're the best. Every time I drink this, I'm going to think of that person, right?
Mm,
So,
yes.
sending them little gifts, a gift, that's about them, for them, or a little coffee mug that has like a photographer, a little camera on it, and then the QR code goes to their website. So it's for them. And they're gonna, people are gonna remember you whenever they use that little gift. So
You
I
make
love
such a
that program, Cyndi.
Yeah. Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. You remind me of something though, because that's not how the world does it. I'm looking for an example. I can't find anything around me here. But let's say you have a business and you're sending mugs with your business on it. People go, "Oh, thank you." and then they might it might end up in the Goodwill, right? But
Right.
if they put your picture or your family's picture or your dog or cat's picture or
Or a picture of the two of you.
the picture of the
Like
two
if
of
I sent
you
you a mug of me and you,
or
you're gonna
right, or
use that
their
every day,
logo,
right? You're gonna be like, oh, I love Melissa. Drink my
they're never going to throw it away, right?
right?
So that's a really good tip in terms of whether it's follow up or nurturing. Make it about them.
Yeah.
Because, and my example for that is Christmas cards. So, in fact, I still have some on my refrigerator I need to go through. So, the Christmas cards where it has a picture of the family, whether it's,
Mhm.
a flat one sheet one or a card, if it has your picture of your family in it, I keep that forever.
Yeah.
If people just sign their name, Merry Christmas, Sue, toss, because I like pictures. Pictures are meaningful to me, whether it's I'm in them or not.
Yeah.
Um,
I still have all my Christmas cards up, like at my house on a board. Cause how do you get rid of them?
I
They're
know.
still there all year
Yeah.
round.
Pictures are powerful. They really do, show they're just more memorable, I think. And so I always they're keepers for me.
Well,
Um,
see, I geek out on this kind of stuff. So even with the QR code, like you could have a QR code go to a video even. So you could put a QR code on a coffee mug or whatever and have it even go to a video. Or
so you
you could even
would
have the
send them a
QR
message.
code call someone. These QR codes that I have involved in, you can literally scan the QR code and it'll call that person.
Whoa.
Wouldn't that be
My
cool?
brain can't figure out how that works.
Ooh, and
But I like your idea of the QR code on something, and maybe you have a video that says, you know, Marley, you are so amazing. Your friendship means so much to me, and
Yeah.
something like that. I think that would be really clever, right?
Yes.
Or their
Very.
favorite song, maybe their favorite song or something that they love, or
Something that you've learned about them, something just meaningful, right? And so
That's
really
right.
that just to tie, I'm sorry, Lisa, what were you going to say?
No, I'm total agreement with you guys.
Well, this has been just a lovely conversation, and I'd love to open it up to those who are joining us today. If you have any questions of our champions, if you have any insights that you want to share because we'd love to hear from you as well, or questions or insights, feel free to unmute yourself and join our conversation for the next few minutes. Marley, hello.
hi. Uh, I guess I have a story to share from the last meeting. One of the guests, I had conversation with her afterwards, and she was interested in my book, looked at it, and she said, "You're a Christian, aren't you?" And I said, "Yes." And turns out that she is in charge of the women's ministries of two different groups at her church. And I told her
Wow.
what I talk on, and she's like, "Oh, wow." And then she said, "Well, we have an event coming up, actually two events. Would you like to come to one of them?" So I'm coming to an event on Saturday morning at her church. And she is my ideal connection, someone who does have influence in a group that could open the door for a speaking opportunity. But it came after, really going through the steps of because I didn't push the book on her. We had quite a bit of conversation first, and then she asked about the book.
And that's what generally happens is that if we are interested in them first, and it doesn't happen with everybody, some people you can connect, discover, listen, and then, the flow would be they connect, discover, listen with you back, and there's this, mutual understanding or of interest. Doesn't always happen, but look what happened. You put it out there, you were interested, you asked questions, you listened, and then she came back around and asked about you. And so that's the dance. That's the beauty of the dance, right?
Yeah.
I,
Oh, go ahead,
sorry.
Gail.
Okay. So I'm pretty good at immediate follow-up and connecting with people and getting those things to them. The thing I struggle with is the nurturing part. How much is too much? How much isn't enough? You know, I'm usually doing text messages or calls. I'm not big on social media. I think all of you know that. I do respond to social media from time to time. I do not post much. So what I'm trying, and email for me is disaster. I have so much email stuff coming in. That never works for me. So just a question, some feedback on how much is too much. You know, I deal with a lot of customers and clients, and I want to have I don't want this to be a situation where they're just ordering from me. I want to know them. I want to know things about them. It's not transactional to me, it's relationship and supporting one another. But I'm never sure how much is too much. And I'm very open to other people, but I've always been hesitant to ask questions or try to, I guess a part of me says I don't want to invade their privacy. So just wondering how much what do you guys think? What have you found in your past is a good kind of a time frame for nurturing?
I would like to go first because I would like to compliment you and say, because I've known you for several years, and I think whatever you're doing is perfect. Whatever you're doing is wonderful. Like, you're so kind and you're so sweet and you're always helpful and, sharing. And I think whatever you're doing already is amazing. So I guess the only thing that comes to mind, I guess, maybe would just be like, yeah, like, you said you have tons of clients. So yeah, just say, hey, to like maybe one of your top 5 clients, let's go to lunch, or, let's go. Do you want to meet up at Edmonds and have some lunch and coffee, and just like nurture those, maybe send them a coffee mug like we were talking about, like a little coffee mug with a picture of the two of you the last time you met, and say, I just really, I really enjoy your friendship, not whatever, you're not just a customer, but you're a friend or whatever. I mean, I think you're great. I love how you are with your business. I would not recommend doing anything different.
Thank you. I know I can always improve though.
Yeah. We all can, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
You know,
You
you
wanna-
might consider just asking in those top 5 or 10 people, just at some point, just say, I love staying in touch with you, but I don't want to overwhelm you. So am I contacting you too much, or how often would be okay to hear from me?
Okay.
I'm going to throw something else in.
Okay.
And that is listen to your spirit. And when that person's name comes in your mind, jump on it.
Yeah.
I had an experience the other day where I was in the middle of cooking dinner, and a dear friend of mine that I don't get to see very often, very rarely actually, her name had come to me a couple days in a row. And I kept thinking, well, this is not a good time. This is not a good time to reach out. And that particular day, I was compelled, call her now. And when I called her, and in the course of our conversation, I realized I was probably the only one that she would have picked up the phone for.
Wow.
She had just gone through an experience that was devastating to her, absolutely devastating, like 15 minutes before I called. And she said, I'm so tired of people. I'm so tired of people that aren't true. They don't keep their word. They're double, two-faced and all that. And I said, I'm surprised that you would pick up the phone when I called. And she said to me, I would never not pick up the phone if you called.
Wow.
Mm.
And so I think, Gail, listen to your spirit. And when that person's name comes to mind, know that they probably need you.
Yeah.
And you won't be a bother.
Okay.
Thank
you.
That's very good, Marley. Very
That's
good.
beautiful. Well, Gail, like Melissa said, you are somebody that is your word. You follow up, you have integrity. Um, and, and I think what I would encourage you, kind of like on the lines of what Marley said, but it's not, the spirit part is really important. And I can give lots of examples like Marley did, where, when I think of people, I say a prayer for them and I call them. That's what I try to do. Now, it's not always the perfect time, so sometimes I delay in it, but there is something magical about that. But also, I would have you kind of think about your mindset. Because years ago, when I was getting into sales, because I've been in network marketing also, um, I did not want to be a pest. And I was thinking that I don't want to be a pest. And so when I call somebody, what I learned is I was projecting that. And so me not wanting to be a pest, they felt like I was a pest and it was being mirrored back to me. And so
Wow.
when I realized that, and it was through a communication course that I took, I had this huge aha and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm projecting the very thing I don't want to, for them to receive. And so I reframed who I was being, okay? Reframed my concern. So I no longer was putting that out there. Instead, my position was my job is to educate people on what I offer. And they get to choose if it's the right time to work with me or not. So that's how I would just come about it. It's not about pestering them, bothering them. It's just about my job is to educate you. So that's number one. Number two is there is a ratio, and I was trying to find this in my notes, but I can't find it right this moment. But I called it like a 5-to-1 magic ratio of 5 times you're reaching out to them, like, I care about you, how are you doing, what's going on? And 1 is the promotion. And I know different people have different ratios for that. You can call it 10-to-1, 5-to-1, 7-to-1, whatever works for you. But the idea is you're not promoting care. Promoting care. It's the other way around.
Yeah.
And then people are more open to it. Because if the only texts they get from you are about upcoming sales or events or whatever, then it doesn't feel like you care. It just feels like you're promoting. And for those of us who are in sales, we have to be really careful with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
More so than other businesses. And so just the nurture piece is more important than ever. And so I'm going to share. So I'm actually behind the scenes working on, can you see this?
Yes.
Working on a skill shop for the 6 steps to exceptional connecting. And I really go into in depth what, this process is. So this is one of the little pieces from my workshop for nurture. So nurture it's an acronym. It's about nourishing. So nourish your relationships by investing time and effort into them. U for understand. Seek to understand the other person's perspectives, needs, and emotions. R, respect. Show respect for their boundaries, opinions, and individuality. T, trust. Build and maintain trust through honesty, reliability, and integrity. U, unite. Find common ground and shared interests to create a sense of unity. R, relate. Foster a genuine connection by discovering ways to relate and empathize. And E, encourage and support the growth, strengths, and aspirations of others. So unlike the other pieces of the puzzle, nurture really encompasses all of them, as you can see.
Yeah.
It really ties everything together. And the nurturing piece is not for the first time person. You have to build that relationship. You know what I mean? It is for the first time person, but you don't get there yet. It takes time to get to the nurture piece. But the nurture piece, I feel like brings everything together. It's the follow-up, it's the connecting, it's
Right.
discovering, it's the listening, it's allowing that relationship to have a future and a hope. And, I think about my really um, precious relationships in my life. Those are people that I may not talk to every month, every week, every month, every year. But when I do talk to them, it's like we're right back there in that beautiful relationship that we developed
Right.
years ago. And it's because we years ago took the time to connect, discover, listen, contribute, follow up, and nurture. And so when you have those relationships, they will survive the course of time, right? How many of us have experienced that?
Yeah.
Right. And so that's how important it is to build the foundation for relationships, because then you can have a lot of time go by, but still it's right where it was years ago. And those are the kind of relationships that I love being able to build. So we've gone over, we started a little later. I just want to just leave it for anybody who has anything that they want to share, and then we'll do closing comments from our champions. Anything more that Gail or Marley want to share?
I guess one other thing that I was going to make everybody aware of, and I have to find it again because I had it up on my phone, but there is an app where you can get customized gifts. It's called Free Prince Gifts, which was given to me. And once a month, you can actually send a free gift that is customized to a person, absolutely free. And then you can, order anything to get things customized. And so, if you're, doing those kinds of things, I'm thinking, okay, I guess I haven't taken advantage of this, but I probably need to. So that might be something.
And not to toot my own horn here, but mailbox power, and you made me realize something, Gail. I have not really gone into the gift part, but they have extensive gifts that can be personalized
Okay.
on Mailbox Power, where you can take a mug, a generic mug, and like Melissa said, put a picture of yourself and your client or a family member, and send them a card and a mug. So that, the app opportunity sounds interesting. You might want to put that in the chat, but keep in mind with Mailbox Power, you can send postcards, greeting cards, big cards, gifts, personalized gifts. It's a great tool to be able to nurture relationships and things. So thank you for reminding me that, because I
Yep.
need to add that piece at our meetings, because that people might not realize that there's that extra feature. So thank you for that. Anybody else want to share anything before we turn it over to champions to close?
No, it's been a great meeting. Thank you, Cyndi.
So I want to ask Melissa and Lisa to each leave us with a parting thought, and then we'll close here.
So what I always encourage people to do is to figure out how they can live a simpler life. What does that mean for them?
Will you remind me, Lisa, of a quote that we had at our networking event,
Oh,
our
yeah.
networking nugget? Share your networking nugget.
That's kind of, don't let stuff cut into your life, your relationships, and the way you live.
That's a really good one, because stuff can
Yeah.
control our life, right? And so you're right.
Yes,
That really keeps it in perspective. Thank you for that. And thank you for joining us, Lisa, and for
you bet.
sharing your wisdom and sage advice with our community. Melissa, I'm just going to leave it to you to close us off with something that you want to share to just put a bow around our conversation today. And thank you for unmuting.
Yeah, I guess just mindset is coming to mind, and anything, we're out there networking, and I think mindset is one of the most important things, and believing in yourself, and that's all that really comes to mind is believe in yourself, because if you don't, then that just you can achieve anything you want in your life if you just put that vision and that mindset towards it. So
Beautiful. Well, thank you all so much for this beautiful conversation. I just want to remind everyone to make every connection an exceptional connection. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
It was a super fun conversation.